Welcome back, everyone. Today we will be looking at the penultimate episode of A New Frontier, entitled Thicker Than Water. Among fans of Telltale, there is a running joke about how the penultimate episodes of every Telltale series are cursed and have a reputation of being the weakest episodes of their respective season. Ironically, it started with The Walking Dead Season 1's penultimate episode, Around Every Corner. It then continued on in Season 2 with Amid the Ruins, The Wolf Among Us with In Sheep's Clothing, Game of Thrones Season 1 with The Nest of Vipers, and to an extent, both seasons of Batman. The only series I can remember that got a huge amount of praise for its penultimate episode was Tales from the Borderlands with Escape Plan Bravo. Despite this exception, penultimate episodes tend to be looked down on by the Telltale fanbase because oftentimes, they're just filler meant to set up the finale. Will A New Frontier keep the curse going? Or will it break the cycle and give us a good episode? Or at the very least, one that's not as bad as the other ones. Let's take a look at Thicker Than Water. As usual, we start off with a Javi flashback. This one is set before the apocalypse with David and Javi at the batting cages shortly after he was booted from the league. Man, I wish playing baseball was as easy as this. I'd still be playing it on my way to the MLB right now. Oh, and just for the record, no matter what happens in this episode, I will give it points for the Phil Rizzuto reference.
It's out of here! Holy cow!
After a while, David angrily storms off, prompting Javi to chase after him, where he reveals that he's been thinking lately of rejoining the army because things between him and Kate aren't going so well. As Javi, you have the choice to try and talk him out of it or encourage it, and David asks him if he will look out for Kate if he were to leave, to which he can agree or refuse, at which point the flashback ends. Oh, and we get David shitting on Javi for never being there and acting selfishly, just in case you forgot about the other times he told Javi all that. The episode kicks off with Javi and David being thrown in jail by a couple of the guards, with Wangfire eventually showing up to explain that Pippin Patalopsicopoulos doesn't want revenge, and that we should just trust her to enforce the laws. And yes, I'm still calling them that, because their names, like their characters, are complete jokes. Also, did we clearly not establish in front of you that she has no respect for the laws, and yet you're still going along with it and think she will adhere to them? What fucking drugs are you on that makes you think that, and please can I have some? It will make the pain of playing this game bearable.
You boys want to make it out of here. Just relax and trust in the process.
You mean the same process that has gotten us thrown in jail? That process, dude? Oh yeah, that really assuages all my fears. Pippin Patalopsicopoulos eventually shows up, says that David has become too much of a problem, and that she's organizing a town-wide gathering in the square tomorrow to explain David's arrest.
No one's above the law, David. Not even you.
Except that's not what you say later when you say this.
I can do anything I want!
She also goes on to say,
And they'll also see that the biggest threat to them right now is you.
Am I in backwards land? It's the only possible explanation. We're arrested for not supporting the looting of communities. Wangfire says trust in the process. Pippin Patalopsicopoulos says no one is above the law, and that David is the threat here. What the hell is going on? Next thing you'll be telling me is that north is south, up is down, and President Trump just commissioned the creation of a space force. Are you fucking kidding me? Screw backwards land, I'm apparently in fucking Star Trek! Pippin Patalopsicopoulos eventually escorts David away, leaving Javi alone to figure out a means of escaping. Taking a pipe off one of the faucets, he uses it to break the glass on a nearby window. This would surely attract the attention of the guard in front of the door, and no one thought to leave someone outside just in case. And no one outside overhears the noise of glass breaking. No wonder Javi's able to sneak around Richmond for the entirety of the episode. These people were practically inviting him to escape. How has a group this incompetently run lasted this long and managed to accomplish all that they had? In fact, the only person that does hear us is Gabe. Great. Maybe I'm better off staying in here in prison. With Gabe's help, Javi breaks out and the two start making their way to Eleanor's apartment where everyone else is currently hiding out. They sneak around in the broad daylight in the middle of the street, yet no one spots them. You know, with how populated this place supposedly is, it would seem highly unlikely they could do this without anyone noticing them. But again, incompetence. Maybe they can't see them because their windows are blocked by pieces of wood. Seriously, what's the point of having boarded up windows inside a walled-in secured community? Gabe tells Javi that a herd is gathered right outside the wall, and Javi tells Gabe about what happened to David, much to the alarm of Gabe, who desperately wants to rescue his dad. They finally make their way to the apartment building where the others are, and we see the construction of a stage as the opening credits start. As we arrive, Tripp picked now as the best time to pour out his heart to Eleanor, to which Eleanor rejects his advances.
I've been thinking hard about this, and I really think we should be a thing.
Manage your priorities, dude. Focus on the task at hand, you love-struck waste of a character. Kate opens the door to the apartment, no doubt still angry at Javi because of his choice in the previous episode. Or she'll just hug him affectionately.
He's still pissed at me?
Just shut up while I'm hugging you.
Maybe this is her way of showing she's still pissed at me. This family is pretty weird, so I'd buy that. David punches people out of love. Kate hugs people out of animosity. Javi tells them what happened to him and what's been going on here in Richmond. Kate still wants to leave immediately, to which Eleanor reminds them of the herd that is gathered outside. Great plan there, Kate. Leaving right now would mean certain death for all of us, so nice going.
You dumbass!
Despite the herd being out of my control, she still lays the blame on me and would rather take her chances with the herd.
Then you're an idiot.
No, Ava, the correct term is...
Dumbass!
Actually, let's talk about Kate for just a quick second. The fact that she would still rather take her chances with a herd of walkers with no plan or means of escape instead of trying to help David really goes to show just how much of a wretched person she truly is. She's self-absorbed, hypocritical, cowardly, and overall just plain unlikable. Yes, I am well aware that David in the flashback was talking about cutting and running from his family to rejoin the army and was acting in the same cowardly manner as Kate is now. Here's the thing though. In my game, he didn't end up going through with it. When we were stuck in jail, he said this.
Yeah, you talked me out of it.
And Javi goes on to mention how he stayed and fought for his family. David then goes on to say,
Listen to me carefully. I don't care what's gonna happen to me. I'm most worried about Kate and Gabe.
He's willing to put his life on the line for his family, including you, Kate, and your response is to stab him in the back. And while David, as I mentioned, is not 100% innocent and is a dick at many times throughout the game, I believe his sincerity. There might be problems in your marriage, but when he was presented with that choice, he ended up not going through with it, choosing family over everything. He's doing the same now. And how does Kate respond? By trying to seduce his brother and abandon him at every turn, even going so far as to choose death over helping him. David has problems. I've acknowledged that. And I'm not saying you have to return to your shitty marriage. What I am saying is that you can't expect me to turn on my brother and then get all pissy when I decide to put family over your selfish needs, Kate. Realizing they're stuck in Richmond, Tripp suggests that they need to get their hands on some guns in order to protect themselves.
That the smartest move to make right now?
This coming from the girl who just said we should take our chances with the herd and escape. And by the way, Kate, if we did go along with your plan, just how do you think we would survive those walkers without guns?
You're a dumbass.
I know I'm overusing that gag a lot, but I can't help it. The game's giving me too many damn reasons to use it. Since Gabe knows where the armory is, he, Javi, and Ava go to acquire some guns without anyone noticing or seeing them. That's some, great stealth music, Telltale. Really fits the mood of the situation. Ava goes ahead to divert one of the guards away, and Javi tells Gabe that he needs to play it cool.
Some decisions, you make them in a split second, and then have to carry them the rest of your life.
Or more accurately, across a 5-episode season. The two make their way inside and find the armory, but the door is locked. Javi starts looking around quietly for a key. Or he just starts whacking away at the knob, making as much noise as possible. Clearly you don't understand the concept of being stealthy, Javi. You would be the worst Dishonored player. They eventually break in and grab most of the guns and ammo and start making their way back when they hear footsteps approaching. The two hide in a nearby closet, but apparently Gabe, being the moron he is, would rather rush out and attack him. So much for playing it cool. As expected, he fails and Fanny Pack Guy is about to shoot him, but Javi jumps out and the two start fighting.
What is wrong with your face?
Javi ends up getting stabbed before knocking Fanny Pack Guy unconscious. Ava shows back up and tells Javi that he needs to get it taken care of at the medical facility.
Shit.
No, it's okay. Lingard and David are close friends. We can count on him to help you.
Oh, so that explains why Lingard didn't stand up for David and allowed him to be thrown in jail. It was because they're so close. If that doesn't make sense to you, then I don't know what does. They arrive at the medical facility, and Ava and Gabe decide to keep watch while Javi goes inside to get patched up. Instead, he finds a passed out Lingard and Clementine searching through his office. And in my game, this is the third of 4 episodes that she doesn't show up until about the halfway mark, despite being one of the game's main characters and co-playable character. Again, seems like her inclusion was just an afterthought. Clem originally came to talk to Lingard about AJ, but after seeing Javi's injury, offers to stitch up his wound, citing previous experience with these types of things. And then we get this delightful conversation.
I started bleeding. I know, it's a thing. I've traveled with women before, and they all had it. What is it? I mean, like, why is it...
Okay. Why? By that I mean, why are we having this conversation in the first place? Why is this a part of the game? It contributes absolutely nothing to the story, contributes absolutely nothing to Clem's character arc, and once again diverts our attention away from more pressing concerns onto trying to explain to Clem what her period is. Not to mention that she decides to bring it up to a guy she met less than a week ago and barely knows anything about. I mean, I don't remember Joel ever having to talk to Ellie about this in The Last of Us, and her and Clem are around the same age here. The only thing I could think of as to why Telltale decided to include this in the game was to help players realize that Clem is getting older. Here's the thing though, I don't need to discuss her menstrual cycle to realize that she's older than when we first met her. All I have to do is look at her. While I get that it's important that she gain the knowledge about the natural changes to her body, I think generally speaking the audience is fine with a conversation like this being one of those things that we accept has happened off screen, but don't feel the need to have included in the actual game. And for anyone thinking of getting on my case for being a guy and being uncomfortable talking about this, let me tell you that if this was flipped and we were talking to Gabe about boners, I'd be saying the same damn thing. This is not the opportune time, and its inclusion is not relevant to what's going on. The Chekhov's gun principle says that writers should only keep what's necessary and remove anything that is unnecessary. I think this would apply to this conversation. Its inclusion is very perplexing to me. Javi eventually finds a needle and thread, and Clem starts operating on him.
Basically, all this means is you could become a mom, if you wanted.
She's 13 years old. She's too young to be doing any of that stuff, regardless of what disgusting Rule 34 shit the internet has made. And don't even give her any ideas when you have a horny little dipshit nephew with a crush on her right outside that door. It's not that I don't trust Clem. It's him I don't trust. Believe me, I've been in Gabe's shoes before. There's only one thing a puberty-ridden boy cares about, and there's one thing that makes their decisions for them, and it sure as hell ain't their brain. So this leads us into the Clem flashback for the episode, and... Wait, did she just mention Kenny?
Kenny used to say I was a natural-born mother.
Oh god. I love Kenny, but I'm not ready to see that monstrosity again.
That's a pretty good dog. Always used to do that one for Duck. He'd laugh his ass off. Oh, shit. Hey, grab the lighter out the duffel, will you?
Why, that actually looks pretty good. Like, they put actual effort into that. I mean, it certainly looks better than this ugly mug. Telltale also went ahead and improved Jane's model for those who got her endings for this episode. It at least shows that Telltale was listening to the feedback and criticisms regarding how these characters looked and improved on it. So props for that, even if it is just fixing a mistake that shouldn't have even been made. Another piece of evidence that they were listening to the feedback these flashbacks were not originally going to be a part of the game. That's right, the flashbacks that resulted in Kenny and Jane's deaths were meant to be the last time we would ever see them. Noting the fan outrage over their treatment, Telltale managed to feature them one more time in the game and allow us to spend more time with these characters. Does it excuse them for what they did? No way in hell. But I will say that this is easily not only the best Clem flashback, but the best part of the entire season. Due to time constraints and the fact that an additional flashback doesn't exist for the Wellington or Alone endings, I'm only going to look at Kenny's since that's what I got in my game. Not much happens in it, but we do get a look at how Clementine has become very protective and motherly towards AJ. Kenny talks about how this part of her seems to come natural and praises her maternal abilities despite her young age. Along with telling Clem how they should give up on Wellington letting them in and head to Florida instead, he also discusses the importance of family and finding people you can relate to.
Sarita always said, family is what you make it. She was right.
You see, this is a great moment for Kenny right here, probably one of his best. Showing how protective he is of Clem and proves how he values her and looks at her as if she was family. However, all I can think about is how you died a slow and painful death a couple episodes ago. I'm sorry, I want to really love this scene, and in many ways I do. But all I keep thinking about is how Telltale decided to just effortlessly kill you off back in the first episode. And that all this hope, all this optimism, all these heartfelt things you're saying mean bupkis. I'm not trying to shit on Telltale for having this scene in the game. It's wonderful. I'm shitting on them still for what they ended up doing back in the first episode. The fact that they resolved the endings from Season 2 in the way they did, and thought that no one would get pissed over the less than half-assed treatment of them, should be a dead giveaway as to how much thought they really put into Clem's part in this story. Did they really think that that would be a good send-off for these characters? Did they really think that we wouldn't get pissed? Did they really think at all? Anyway, we cut to 1 month later to see Clem immediately after her expulsion from the New Frontier. She returns back to the bus from the second episode where Ava once again shows up with a bag. Inside the bag are some supplies, but also a drawing AJ made shortly after David kicked her out.
You're welcome. Consider it a peace offering? We care about you.
Yes, you care about her. That's why you not only kicked her out, but decided to take AJ away from her. Which is, in a way, one of Clem's only reasons to keep going. It's so nice to have people that care about me the way you do. Ava also tells Clementine to find the silver lining in all this, and Clem can use this time to mention a very important someone from her past.
I used to have Lee.
You never mentioned him.
He took care of me for a while. Every time I would look at AJ, I could hear him in my head, helping me, guiding me.
He's still with you, you know.
You know, I was going to make a joke about why Clem hears Lee's voice in her head, because we've played as both of them. But honestly, I'm just more surprised than anything that they included a reference to Lee. Remember, this was a game designed to attract newcomers to the series, and you get this flashback and this dialogue option no matter what. I guess they saw that their attempt didn't exactly pan out the way they thought and said, fuck it, this is a full-fledged continuation now. I mean, when you take a look at the trailers being released as the series went on, as well as the promo art and other marketing attempts, you probably noticed that Clementine was becoming a bit more prominent in them. You have to wonder if Telltale saw that things weren't panning out like they had hoped in regards to Javi and newcomers, and made Clem have a much bigger role, or at the very least make it seem as though it would be bigger, by doing stuff like this. It's definitely something to think about. But still, the fact that they didn't have all that much planned for her character is still evident. These are just minor changes that they incorporated into the game to try and appease the fanbase. Ava mentions an old airfield where a community called Prescott is, saying that she should head there. Remember in episode 2, I questioned why the New Frontier never raided Prescott if they had known about them? Well, now I'm still confused as to why they didn't. Clearly the location of Prescott was known to several people in the New Frontier, and Pippin Patalopsicopoulos was pretty merciless in ordering Max and the others to go to these communities. So again, why did they allow Prescott to live in peace for as long as they did? Actually, this raises another interesting point. Where is Max? Had you decided to spare him and bring him to expose Pippin Patalopsicopoulos, he's never seen again. Not once throughout this episode and the next. He just disappears, with no idea what happened to him. He wasn't imprisoned with us. He didn't get the same trial David gets later. There's no evidence that he was killed, especially since Wang Fire says they don't kill in Richmond. So what happened to him? He was a major character in the first 3 episodes, and now he's just gone. What kind of resolution is that for him? I would love to say that this is the only time a character just up and vanishes without an explanation, but sadly it's not. As much crap as I give the treatment towards Kenny, Jane, and Wellington, they at least got resolutions. You can't say the same for Max had you spared him. Anything would be better than doing absolutely nothing and keeping his whereabouts a mystery given the situation. But Telltale couldn't even take 10 seconds in either of these episodes to explain what happened to him, huh? Doing that was just too hard for them. Back to the flashback, Clem can either tell Ava thanks or tell her to get lost, and we're brought back to her finishing up Javi's stitches. Wow, we actually got 10 minutes in this episode playing as Clem instead of 5. Certainly a step in the right direction. Well, it's 10 so long as you got either the Kenny or Jane endings. If you had the Wellington or Lone endings, sucks to be you. Dr. Lingard finally wakes up and the two of them begin to ask him about AJ. Lingard, who comments that David reignited in him a purpose to care and hints that it was his influence that got him to stop abusing drugs, tells them that he wants to die as he believes David won't make it out of this predicament. He wants them to assist in his suicide by having him overdose, and in exchange, he'll tell them where AJ is. Javi can decide to inject Lingard, and he reveals that AJ is at a place called the McCarroll Ranch, located a few miles west of Richmond just before he dies. Javi stabs Lingard to prevent him from turning, and the two walk out.
Oh, hey. Hi, Clementine.
Alright, we're still doing this shit. I almost forgot about that. Really wish the game did too. We make it back to Eleanor's place, and Gabe starts handing out guns to everyone.
I saved this one for you.
No, I've already got one.
Denied.
Actually, it wouldn't hurt to have another. Thanks.
To be fair, a gun probably is the apocalyptic equivalent of a box of chocolates. The group starts to plan out their next moves, such as taking out Joan and how they're going to get out of Richmond once it's all over. Ava tells them about an armored vehicle located outside of the walls where the herd is. Ava, how exactly do you expect us to get over there? We were just saying how we're stuck here due to the walkers. But now you want us to go outside of the walls, where the walkers are, mind you, to get a truck that will be used to get away from the walkers. Please someone tell me if I'm missing something or if I got that right. Gabe tries to steer the conversation back onto how they're going to rescue David, and he starts going off about how he wants to run into battle and be the one to save him. Yes, because running into battle worked so well for you last time. Good to see you learned your lesson.
You need to shut the fuck up!
Javi tries to tell him to slow down, which only aggravates the punk more. When Javi tells him that they need to take their time to prevent anyone from dying, Gabe goes ahead and says this. And it was at this point that anyone who even remotely liked Gabe immediately turned on the bastard.
Life is precious? Then how come you shot Conrad, huh? Back in the tunnel, when he came after us, he tried to bargain with you. But you thought killing him would be easier.
Well, thanks a lot, you snot-nosed little shithead. I saved you from a guy who was pointing a gun at you, and because you don't get what you wanted, you spill the beans about Conrad, throwing our entire mission into jeopardy because your plan sucked and would have gotten us killed. I mean, you say he was trying to bargain with Javi? I wouldn't call threatening to kill you and demanding they turn over the girl you have a crush on over to the New Frontier as bargaining. Sounds a lot like hostage-taking and blackmail. Remember back in episode 2 when you were telling me to shoot him and that you agreed with me that I had no other choice but to kill him? What happened, huh? Something doesn't go your way and you decide to be an ass about it? You get all whiny and try to spite the person who's telling you to calm down and think the plan through, not rush in guns a-blazing. For all that talk about wanting to be a man, I have seen nothing throughout the game that shows you actually trying to do that. All I see is you continuously acting like a child, whining when things don't go your way. Guess what, Gabe? The only thing you're getting now is a giant fuck you! And if you thought that was bad, here's what he says when you choose to go along with Conrad's plan back in episode 2.
You're a fucking coward! A fucking coward!
So we're a coward if we agree to it, but if we kill him to protect you, you throw me under the bus. This is why we say the wrong child was killed.
What the fuck, Javi? Is she telling the truth? You murdered my friend? What the fuck did you do that for? You looked me in the eyes, man. You let me think the walkers had killed him.
Oh, so now you care about what happens to your friends. Where was this when you abandoned everyone at Prescott to die? You get all pissy at me over Conrad, but you couldn't even give an ounce of a damn for the dozens of innocents you left to be killed back at Prescott. Bite my ass, Tripp. You have no right to talk to me that way. And that's not all. Tripp says that he'd rather take his chances with the New Frontier over Javi.
You're a dumbass.
I know I say that for Kate, but come on. The New Frontier killed everyone in Prescott, destroyed the place you called home only a matter of days ago, but I guess now that's all water under the bridge. But I, justifiably I might add, killed Conrad because he threatened my nephew, an account that Clem just backed me up on, and you're throwing me to the wolves. This entire game is devoid of logic. Tripp and Eleanor refuse to come along now, so the group, consisting of Javi, Kate, Clem, and unfortunately Gabe, go to get the truck. I still don't know how they plan on doing that since there's a ton of walkers outside. Oh, never mind. Guess they made it there no problem. They must have got past the walkers. Jeez, if it was that easy, then why do they even need an escape vehicle? We'll do the same thing we did right now to get away. Javi wants Clem to join him to get the truck and has Kate and Gabe stay behind just in case something happens. Gabe, however, starts acting all pissy again. Are we sure Clem is the one on her period?
I see what's going on. You're punishing me because I told everyone what you did, right?
Oh, don't even fucking start with me, dickbag. This is not my fault. Are you actually trying to paint me as being in the wrong about what you just did? Clem, back me up on this. Tell him to cut the shit.
Hey, Gabe. Come on. I need you to watch my back on this one.
Or bring the incompetent dickbag who hasn't proven himself in any way along to watch your back. Again, do you find these type of people attractive, Clem? Because I'm really starting to worry about your taste in guys. It was bad enough when this was just a one-sided crush on Gabe's part. But the last 5 minutes have actually seen Clem start to reciprocate those feelings. Why? How? From my perspective, it looks like it just came right the hell out of nowhere. 1 minute, she doesn't really care all that much. She's rejecting him, and then the next minute, oh yeah, I'll take your gun. Ugh. I'm looking at this objectively, really analyzing both of these characters from an unbiased perspective, trying to find some sort of justification for Clem's sudden feelings for him. And I've got nothing. Just how exactly did the idea for this relationship come about anyway?
You know, I'm looking over the scripts for this game. I don't think we have enough romance in it.
Are you sure, sir? I mean, we already have a love triangle between Javi, Kate, and David. We already have a sort of thing between Tripp and Eleanor, and we also got Conrad and Francine. And hell, we even had enough time to throw in a little something between Javi and Jesus in episode 5. Don't you think that's enough?
No way. We need something else. Come on, give me some ideas. What are the main characters are we not doing anything with?
Okay, I don't know. How about Ava and Dr. Lingard?
Nope, Ava is a lesbian.
Since when? I don't have anything in here about that.
I just decided to make her one. But come on, look at her. Total lesbo. Plus, we'll get bonus points for being progressive and praise for representation.
Really? You're just going to randomly assign or determine a character's sexuality even though nothing in the visual medium has ever pointed to that being the case? Also, you can just go around and virtue signal to others about how progressive you are? Do you really think that's such a good idea?
Completely. But come on, what else you got?
How about Joan and Clint?
They're villains. No one gives a shit about them. Come on, give me something juicy.
I don't know anymore, sir. Fuck, Clem and Gabe?
Wait. You might be onto something.
Really? I mean, it's just that we have most of these scripts already written, and we don't really have all that many interactions between them. I don't know exactly what I can do with that.
Just have some of the other characters point it out, or have them talk about it. It'll be great. Remember, the first rule of storytelling is tell, don't show.
I'm pretty sure it's show, don't tell.
No, it's definitely tell, don't show. Trust me. I'm the guy who came up with Minecraft story mode. I know what I'm talking about.
Alright, I guess I can throw in a couple choices for the player to let Clem see Gabe as a romantic interest.
Nuh-uh. Remember, she's only playable in the flashbacks. This needs to be non-determinant.
Sir, I really don't think that's such a good idea.
How so?
It's just that we've had players create their own version of Clementine. Hell, that's pretty much the point of Season 2 with the hashtag MyClementine. This seems really counterintuitive to that. Not only that, but we have a lot in this script that makes Gabe come off as pretty unlikable. Not to mention that they're really different characters.
Exactly. Don't you know that opposites attract? It makes the relationship exciting and hot.
I thought relationships were built on mutual trust, respect for the other partner, having similar morals and principles.
Nope. Difference adds drama, which leads to love. Now get to work. This episode is set for release tomorrow.
We find the truck, but some new frontier guards show up.
Come on, we gotta hurry and finish before more people wake up.
What are we gonna do?
Here's the plan, Gabe. You run out and try to distract them. Maybe get shot in the process. That'll give us time to come up with an actual plan. The group does succeed in stealing the truck, not going with my plan unfortunately, and are somehow able to get it back inside the walled-in, heavily secured, and guarded Richmond. Meaning they drove the truck through the herd, the guards opened the gate for them, and prevented walkers from flooding into Richmond. They also proceed to park the truck in the middle of the street for anyone to see. How were they able to pull any of this off, Kronk?
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
After some more expository development for Gabe and Clem's relationship from Kate, it leads her to start talking about her own feelings about Javi.
I know we've had moments, you and I.
We have had no moments, you and I.
And they're always a little hot.
As hot as Minnesota during the winter.
And a little confusing.
I'm seeing things very clearly.
And maybe some of them haven't meant anything at all.
None of them have meant anything at all.
Whatever this thing is between us, I want to give it a chance.
After Kate tells Javi how she feels, Javi can choose to either reject Kate or agree to give the relationship a chance. Naturally, I turned her down faster than the cheetah on cocaine. Don't ask me how I know that.
I'm sorry, Kate.
Oh, God.
I just can't see it between us.
So all those times you said stuff, I was just imagining it?
Ugh, seriously, why is there so much romance in my Walking Dead game? I could have sworn this game has always been about survival, holding on to your humanity and the values that you hold, and being forced to make uncomfortable and possibly dangerous decisions. Now all of a sudden it's turned into a drama-ridden soap opera with broken marriages and poorly developed love triangles. But no, this is definitely a more traditional Walking Dead story than what you guys originally had planned. Kudos to the writers for really capturing what The Walking Dead is about. And for those of you who don't get what I'm talking about, one of the people, I forget who, once justified the rewrites because they felt the original story they planned wasn't a traditional Walking Dead story. What a crock of shit! I'm not saying you can't have romance in these games, but don't you think that if you insist on having them, you make it, I don't know, good? This relationship between Javi and Kate has no development other than Kate doesn't like David anymore. All of its defenders say stuff like, oh, it's because they were together for so long in the apocalypse, it's totally natural they would develop these feelings for one another. To which I respond with this. 1. Even if that were the case, could Kate have picked a more inconvenient time to talk to Javi about all of this? I mean, 4 years have passed, most of which they assume David to be dead, but now she finally decides to be open about it a couple days after finding David alive. 2. Other than the episode 3 flashback, we never saw what they were up to during their time together, meaning that what we start off with is a blank slate and nothing to go on. As mentioned earlier, the fundamental rule of storytelling is show, don't tell, and they barely showed anything about their time together before the game's events. This argument that these feelings only started because of their time together falls apart when you realize that Kate showed affectionate feelings for Javi before the apocalypse. Nothing Javi did for her, Mari, or Gabe led Kate to feel this way. Her feelings were already there, meaning that the way she feels about Javi were not spurred by what he has done for them, but something else that predates the apocalypse. What that is, we also don't know, since the game has presented Javi as an absentee brother more focused on his baseball career rather than family. There is nothing in Javi's character that would hint as to why Kate could even possibly feel this way about someone who, if they were together, would almost never be there for her or any children they would have together. So what is the cause of her feelings? By what is presented in the game, the only possible reason is that she only feels this way because of her failing marriage. Remember how I joked that she only did this stuff to stir trouble between the brothers or to piss off David? Well, that just became the only reason why this relationship even exists. And I am not joking, I am 100% serious. This is my theory. Kate doesn't have feelings for Javi. Kate has only convinced herself that she has feelings for Javi, just to spite David. And if that's the case, then holy hell, Kate is single-handedly, without any shred of a doubt, one of the most despicable characters in all of The Walking Dead. And yet she is presented as one of the main characters. You gotta wonder if Telltale is so smart that they did this on purpose, or they're so stupid that they didn't realize what they were doing. Ava calls them on the radio to tell them that they're planning on executing David, but she's suddenly cut off. Javi, Gabe, and Clem head over to the square, while Kate stays back just in case they need to make a quick exit. At the square, Pip and Penultimate is trying to pin everything that she's done on David and Javi, even showing them Badger and Lingard's body.
For years now, Richmond has been Gun's simple principle. Strong council, strong community.
Wait, did she just say Richmond has been governed for years? I thought you guys recently took over here. That's what Jesus implied back in episode 2. But now you're saying you've been here for years. Telltale, allow me to offer you a piece of advice. Continuity is not a polite suggestion. It's a requirement. You can't just go around and randomly change things up on your audience. Once she spots Javi, she orders him to come to the stage, where she reveals that Eleanor has told her all about their plan to save David. She also orders that both Ava and Trip be brought out, and forces us to choose which one of them should live. Javi can choose to save Trip, but no matter who you chose, Pip and Penultimate will order that that person be killed, sparing the one you condemned to death. This causes most in the crowd, as well as Wang Fire, to turn on her. As a result, he offers to just exile David and the others, as that's the way they usually do things. Against David's wishes, Javi can choose to go along with his plan since they don't know they took the truck and can easily escape the herd. However, David, after being freed, grabs one of the guards' guns and takes Wang Fire hostage, causing the crowd to flee and a gunfight to break out, resulting in Wang Fire's death and Pip and Penultimate escaping. Hearing the gunshots, Kate drives the van over to get them out of there, but one of the guards throws a Molotov cocktail and causes the van to crash into a gas truck, causing it to explode.
Javi, you've got to get over there before...
My cabbages!
This opens a hole for the worst-looking walkers Telltale has ever made to start pouring into Richmond, and the episode ends. So that was Thicker Than Water. And I gotta say, this actually was a good episode. I'm not joking about that, by the way. I'm being deadly serious. Yeah, I've given it some crap, rightfully so. There's obvious problems with it. But in all honesty, what the episode does right does exceed what it does wrong. This episode had the best Clementine flashback and the longest playtime as her. I appreciate what they did with the character of Lingard, and unlike the other episodes, the pacing was actually really good. This is definitely the best episode of the season. However, it's not good because this episode had the heaviest emphasis on the romance. It's good in spite of it. Much like with the rest of the series, the romance is the weakest part of this episode because of how poorly it's been handled. Trip and Eleanor feels like a thrown together at the last minute attempt to do something with their characters. The love triangle between Kate, David, and Javi is bad. And the Clem and Gabe stuff? My god. I haven't seen a ship this devoid of actual chemistry since Zutara. Both make no sense, have zero visual or emotional development, and have a rabid fanbase ready to tear your throat out if you say anything bad about it. The only difference is that while one is a made-up pipe dream that never stood a chance of actually happening, Zutara, the other was actively being pursued by the writers, and it failed miserably. And before all the Game-Tiners come down on me and say, oh, you just don't want Clem to be friends with boys, I want to say that that is not true in the slightest. I have a lot of problems with Gabe, which I have made quite evident, but him being a boy around Clem's age is not the problem. If that was the case, then by that logic, I'd have a problem with Lewis in the final season. But not only do I not have a problem with him, he's actually one of my favorite characters so far in the game. While I still prefer Clem to be focused on survival and not on romance or having a boyfriend, I must admit, there's actually a part of me that mildly supports Lewis and Clem being together. He's charming, he's witty, he's funny. I can totally see them actually being a thing. No, my problem with Gabe is the direction Telltale decided to take this relationship. Telltale did not have to go down the romantic route immediately between these two. They could have taken their time and actually allowed something to blossom here, something that I and others could have been more open to and supportive of. Hell, that seems to be what they're doing in the final season. They're allowing the time to be taken with Lewis, or maybe even Violet, develop the friendship between the two of them, and then eventually move on to the romance. Have them simply start off as friends. Don't throw in all the adult characters talking about them getting together. Just let these kids be kids around one another. If Telltale had actually decided to let us play as Clem in the present, it could have opened the door to more interactions between these two, allowing us to explore not only Gabe's character a bit more and gather insight into his own strengths and what he wants to do to become a stronger survivor, but also give us more perspective on how Clem has changed since Season 1, and offer him advice on how to become the person he wants to be. As we've seen, the reason why Gabe starts acting like this is because he wants to immolate how he views his father. And as we will see, the next episode finally has Gabe start to see that his dad is not the person he thought he was, creating discord between the two. However, I always felt that it was rushed and sudden. Imagine if you could have Clem be a sort of unintentional intervening factor in his perception. Have her be the one to teach or instruct him, allowing him to see things differently, thus causing him to stray further from David. Along with that, you could talk to him about her previous history with David, and have the choices you make as her impact whether he decides to stay with Javi or go with David in the next episode, instead of him just going with David no matter what. Their interactions could have exposed a lot about both characters that could easily have paved the way for something down the road, help Clementine regain a sense of her lost childhood, and assist Gabe in learning how to become a stronger and a more adept survivor, one who can make the tough decisions when the time calls. Doing something like this adds to Gabe and Clem's character development, gives us more time to play as Clem, adds more length to the episodes, and can incorporate more player choice, increasing replayability. Imagine if all of those 42 different Clementine personalities could have come out through her time with Gabe. How much variety there would be, how much more could have been done with their characters, and actual friendship could have formed. Because God knows Clementine needs friends her own age. But that right there is the thing. She needs a friend, not a love interest. That's why it probably would have been better had Gabe been the one to die and Mari lived. How much better it would have been for Clem to have a female friend her own age to talk to. We had Sarah back in Season 2, but her arc ended prematurely and disappointingly. Mari could have been what Sarah wasn't. But instead, they chose not to do any of that and just go with the cliche romance option. And the only reasoning they offer is because they're two kids, meaning we should automatically ship them together. They could have actually done something here, regardless of which character lived. Have Clem play an integral role in Gabe's character arc. Have her teach him how to start stepping up. Actually use their differences to your advantage, and allow them to learn from the other and become better characters. Doing something like that would have easily made the relationship more believable. But alas, this is what we got, and we all suffer because of it. And that's it for episode 4, Thicker Than Water. And like I said, despite the romance, it's actually a pretty good episode. Maybe Telltale can salvage this season after all, and deliver an exciting and emotionally impactful final episode that saves this season. Oh, fuck me.